Welcome to Podcetera. Each episode is a journey of discovery as we delve into topics that pique our curiosity and yours. We feature in-depth interviews with fascinating individuals who have extraordinary stories to share.
I'm Renee Lego.
And I'm Joelle Ludovich. And this
is Podcetera. Erene Mastrangeli, welcome to Podcetera.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on the show.
welcome.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to becoming a singer-songwriter.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I am a singer-songwriter, and my journey, I think it started very early. I started singing when I was little. I think I joined a choir at 7 or 8. I started studying classical guitar at 10. My dad is amateur singer, guitar player, also songwriter and poet. And he wanted both my sister and me to have music in our lives. So we got exposed to music early on. And I loved it. My sister loved music, but not as a musician. She didn't want to keep playing or singing, but I loved it. And I started writing music also very early. Composition is my biggest love, and it started when I was 13, something like that. So I was studying guitar, but I had a piano because my sister was studying piano. But she stopped playing the piano, but I had the piano available. So I would just go to the piano, and I learned to play the piano vicariously, like to her. And so then I started composing on the piano, on the guitar, but it was always instrumental in these long, complex compositions. And then I was also writing these little poems. So they were separate. And then eventually, when I was 19, I think, or 20, so I started writing songs later, but I consciously made an effort. I was like, okay, I think these two things should be together, should come together. It was like an actual, an intellectual effort. So like, I think they should come together in a form of song. Let's try. So it didn't come spontaneously. It was like, I need to learn these songs. And so I had to shrink those long compositions to an essence. That's the beauty of songwriting. It's like you need to be essential. You need to get to that point. You have a short amount of time. You have a melody that is like, it's a puzzle. I have these friends, we talk every week, we support each other. And we are very clear that it's like a puzzle. You need to fit the words into that specific melody. And so it was like an effort, I have to say. There were a few trials that was like, oh, okay, these are not great songs. And then eventually the first song came at 21, I think. Okay, I can call this a song. And then it became much, much easier.
It seems like your parents were pushing you towards that, or was that something that you were interested in? And then I have a follow-up as well. In the States, when funding gets cut in schools, the first thing to go is the music program. 3rd grade, I wanted to study music, and we didn't have any money. So I was sitting in class for, I don't know how long, taking flute lessons with no flute. And it got to the point where the teacher said, you can't stay unless you buy a flute. And so my parents took out a loan to buy the flute because we were very poor. 5 kids buying a musical instrument. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
For me, it was so important growing up, having that experience, learning to read music, being in the choir, playing flute, being in band, singing. So if you look back on it, if you hadn't been exposed to it at that age, where would you be right now? Were your parents encouraging that? Or was it something you were navigating to?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that, first of all, without music, without that exposure to music, I would be pretty miserable. I don't even know if I'd be alive. That's the truth. Because music was this quote unquote pacifier in a good way. When I needed soothing, I would go to music and to writing lyrics, words, these little poems. Or maybe I would have taken another artistic outlet. I don't know. I remember that I tried to paint. I was so bad at it. I was so frustrated. I remember think of the piece of wood and I so wanted it. I was so disappointed. So maybe I would have learned that. I don't know. But definitely there has always been an artistic inclination. Now looking back, you're actually helping me see that now more than I was aware of. And I do believe that when there's an artistic inclination, it would have come out in maybe a different form. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I do know that without that, I do remember very clearly how soothing holding the guitar was for me. The vibration of the guitar, that embracing of that instrument. That's why guitar was my first instrument. Although now I play more piano than guitar. But there is something on the guitar, that physical contact. I needed it. So I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. I know that people have had the experience of being exposed to music, but it was also very traumatizing. And they just, to this day, they're like, I don't ever want to see this instrument ever again. That breaks my heart. I feel very lucky that my parents were not it wasn't this you gotta practice. No. In fact, I was doing my sister's assignments on the piano. We had the same teacher. We had one teacher. But it wasn't like this thing you take your kid to, we didn't have a million activities. We're going to do the same thing and go to one place because that's it. So we had one teacher and she happened to teach both piano and guitar. But that was such a blessing. I actually think the limitations are very resourceful. That's when the creativity can blossom too. Because of that, I would sit there for my sister lesson. I learned to read for piano just by hearing the teacher and seeing the music there on the piano. I would just sit there and listen and be interested. And then I would go home and practice her assignments. My sister did not. That's how I learned to play the piano. And that was another blessing. And my teacher was very sweet. She was a very young woman and kind. My parents were not obsessed with that playing. So I have to say that it was probably an ideal setting. At the same time, I also remember that when I started writing, I also felt very invisible at the same time. My parents were more interested in what was happening. So I was down there playing as loud as I could my original compositions on that piano, and nobody ever said a thing. That affected me negatively at the same time. So maybe we're kind of neglected. So it was offered and encouraged. They took me then to voice lessons and they did pay for all that. So it was encouraged. At the same time, I didn't feel as seen as I wanted to be. Although now my parents are my biggest fans. My mom's phone rings, it's my song. And she's in the car, and she absolutely adores everything I do. So they're making up for it.
All right. But the getting there was a little, yeah. I get it. I understand that.
It was tough growing up, a lot of fighting. It was not peaceful, and my guitar was important.
Yeah. I can identify with that. I grew up in an Italian household. Same. A lot of yelling.
Whoop.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
So, talking about growing up, where in Italy are you from, and how does that influence, or does it influence your songwriting?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I am from Torino, also known in English as Turin, and it's near Milan in the northwest. So my mom's family is from that region. My father's family is from Rome, or south of Rome, actually, in between Rome and Naples. I have these two big influences, and we actually spent a lot of time there in Rome with my grandparents. And so there was a huge influence from my paternal grandmother. She was singing all the time. She was a beautiful boy. She's still alive. She's going to be 94. And she complains that now her voice is now she can't sing. But she loved it. She loved singing. She was singing all the time. And my dad has a beautiful voice, and he, I think, took after her as well. And she was singing these Neapolitan songs. This sound became very familiar to me. And one of my favorite singer-songwriters was from Naples. He died years ago. Pino Daniele, incredible guitarist. He toured with Pat Metheny, virtuoso, but brilliant songwriter. The sound was so familiar that later on I was singing and I was improvising a lot. I remember I had this memory of me just singing. And it was all this Neapolitan Middle Eastern, because the Neapolitan music has a Middle Eastern way to go about the melody. I still do it. There's something that is still there when I sing. And another thing that influenced my music is opera. Very indirectly, I realized like 30 years later, that's what has happened. So my first experience was classical music, singing in this kid choir, but it was a pretty serious one. It was well known in my hometown. And we would sing these classical pieces. And then whenever the opera house in my hometown needed a choir of kids for La Boheme or like all the different operas, they would ask us. We were the go-to choir. I had this incredible experience at like 10 years old, being fitted for costume and being in this like crazy environment. Like I had so much fun. We would learn our parts and be on stage and then run around. It was forbidden. We shouldn't roam around, but we were like, absolutely, we're gonna go and look. And they were like, you shouldn't be here. Like it's fun. It's like the opera house is like a maze, but later on I realized that these arias, whatever, and I remember we had free tickets. We could go to at least one opera, whatever we were in, we could go see it. And I would just be so sleepy and so terrible, like so long. But that music was coming in. That's how my system works. Maybe I don't study it, but it got absorbed. So now in the way I go about melodies, sometimes is very much influenced by aria. Like I still look for that melody that's just gonna be this like da da da, like it. Yeah.
At what point did you go from I love music and now I want to make it my career?
Oof, big question. I love music. I wasn't aware until maybe I was 22 that I was doing it. I just did it my whole life. I wasn't even sure why. I remember I had this crisis with singing around that age. Why do I keep studying singing? I don't know that I'm a singer. Sometimes I still feel like that way. And now I teach it actually. So, and I love doing it. But I was like, do I need to, or do I do it because I should? Because now my families have an expectation that I'll keep doing it, but also because I feel that if I don't, I lose that skill and I regret something. So there was this conflict. And I realized that I actually had a sort of I'm big in spirituality. I'm very passionate about. And I believe now that my songwriting it's a gift, meaning that I don't make the songs, I receive the song. It's very clear to me. If I were to think intellectually, like how did I write that? I have no idea. Like I can't. I don't have the skill. I'm very clear. It's just it comes, and I am blessed, and I feel extremely fortunate because it's always like a powerful experience. It's so joyful and pleasurable physically. And so that's when I started venturing in spirituality when I was maybe 22. I remember I was reading The Alchemist and Self-Hypnosis. And I would just clearly saw this sort of voice or this intuitive thought that said, like, karmically, you're nature saying. It's just how it is. Now, looking back and now teaching, singing, and I keep studying, the voice is my biggest teacher, like a spiritual guidance. Because whatever I learn through singing and in studying voice, all the secrets are there for life, I feel. And that's why I love teaching. And what I do more than teaching people to sing is like helping them fall in love with the process of singing, just using their voice, not for performance, to be good at it. It's like enjoying the voice as this gift that we all have. And when I was 22, I dropped out of university and I was like, I guess I'll be a professional musician. Wasn't it like, I will be, no, I was like more like, I guess that's the only thing I can do. And so and my parents were like, no way. That's when they were like, not supportive at all. So it's been a long journey there. It was an acquired love passion, if you want. Like I wasn't even aware I had that passion until like that really took it to heart. And I was like, oh, I guess I love this very much.
So were you in university in Italy?
Yeah.
And then how did you make your way to the States? And what was that like?
I was in university in Italy. I dropped out. I was a psychology major. Their music was more like you needed to get into the conservatory. There wasn't really like another way. Dropped out of college and I was definitely lost, major crisis. And then this is a fun story worth telling. I decided to be a musician, a singer, blah, blah, blah. I was in the gospel choir. We got hired to do 2 gigs around Italy. One of them actually became sort of a famous dance singer. And so I was visiting my friend Silvana in Switzerland, who was studying to be clown and an actress. In Northern Europe, there's this tradition of clownery, and actually the school where she went to now a university. First, I went to San Francisco. I had nothing to do. My parents are like, oh my God, what is she going to do? They were trying to just employ me like, I think you should go be a traffic cop. Like my dad wanted me to. It's a whole different body in Italy. It's like it's not actually a cop. Like you could apply. And I was like, are you crazy? I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I was like also very arrogant and deflecting a lot of ideas. So then there was this opportunity to go to San Francisco, become an au pair for this friend of my dad, who is this brilliant guitarist from my hometown, who moved to San Francisco, has been living there now over 40 years. And he has this career as a finger picking style guitarist. So the idea of like being in contact with this guy, I was like, yeah, I'll go. I was there only for 2 months. I loved it. I wrote one of my best songs in San Francisco. To this day, I think it's like probably the best composition. Part of the payment was to record a demo with him. Until we recorded my first demo, I had these 4 songs. And it was supposed to be 4 songs. I had 3 good songs, and the 4th one was not that great. But then I ended up writing one that was way better than all the other 3. So I came back. I was going to visit my friend in Switzerland. I loved being there. It was people from all over Europe and free and artistic. And like, I just had such a great time. So Silvana called me up and she was like, they're looking for a singer at this circus in the German part of Switzerland. They're looking for a singer. Would you be open to do it? And I was like, no way. I'm not going to sing in a circus. Are you kidding? And then for a month, I kept thinking about this opportunity. I was like, this won't happen ever again in my entire life. What? Singing in a circus? So I called them up 30 days later. Is that still available? Yes. Do you want to audition? Yes. I got into the circus. So for 8 months, I toured the circus. This was 24 or 25. That's when I decided, because I love being in a different country. There was something so stimulating about it. Being in San Francisco, I wrote that music. Being in the circus, it was just this transformative experience. I mean, like, wow. I was like, I want to go back to the States. It just was clear. And then I was like, where? I've been to San Francisco. Where else? And I said, I think I should visit New York at some point. You're supposed to. It's New York. It's closer to Europe. The ticket is cheaper. I'm going to go to New York. That's how I decided. I was paid fairly well in Switzerland for the job. I saved some money. Then I went back for a year to Torino, my hometown. I worked 2 jobs part-time to save more money. And then I took off. And that was 25 years ago. This coming week is going to be my 25th anniversary, actually.
What a journey. Can we talk a little bit about your song and your latest CD, Love Shine? And can you talk about what inspired you to write that music?
I'm particularly fond of this album. I still love it very much. My songs up until I wrote Love Shine were pretty much about heartbreak or chasing some freaking somebody who doesn't look at me or something like that, which is great inspiration, that pain. But Love Shine marked a total 180 shift in my songwriting. Love Shine was written in response to the mass shooting at Paul in 2016. I've always been a pacifist and believe in world peace and nonviolence. But despite being here already so long, 16 years, this thing of gun violence did not register. Like, there's something that is so far from where I come from. Like, my country is not peaceful by any means. You know what I mean? But we have our struggles big time. But gun violence is not one of them. That is something I never heard of. Mass shootings like that in schools or in events. So it's something that almost never quite entered my, like, it was blocked out. And I watched Bowling for Columbine, the Michael Moore. Then I remember watching also about the healthcare. That broke me. I was like in the bathroom of the theater, bawling my eyes out because it triggered this trauma of being here now, not having the healthcare like that. In Italy, you never think twice. You just go to the doctor. Here, it's like, oh my God, can I actually go? So that was such a trauma. And so Paul happened. I remember I was practicing for a show. I got on the phone and this news came through of the biggest, up to that point was the biggest in the history of the state in a gay club. That's when I was like, I just felt this, I was in shock because I'm queer and that's my community. And I was like, I could have been one of them. I just felt it. I was like, oh my God. That's when I woke up to it. And I remember it was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I remember that night going with a singer-songwriter friend of mine, also queer. We went to Stonewall. We didn't know what to do with ourselves. But that afternoon, I went to my guitar and I started playing this riff. The only thing that I could do was play, again, like my soothing place, pick up the guitar. And so I started with riff, which became the intro to Love Shine, which was this cyclical kind of anguish. It was expressing my anguish, and then the song came. What I love about Love Shine is that it's an uplifting song. And that's, I think, I can say pretty much that of all my songs. There is this catharsis, transcendence that happens in the process from such a painful place. Like COVID was another painful place, depression. And then there is this transformation as I write because of the energy lifting, the vibration in the writing, because then I feel joy. I cannot write a song if I don't experience joy as I write it, because then music comes in. But this is beautiful. So it's just contrasting. Songwriting transforms the feeling. And then there is this beautiful uplifting piece that comes out. And it's a prayer. It's basically an invocation to love to shine over us. We are crazy. Just come, heal us, enlighten us. We don't know the way. And to this day, I keep singing it. Unfortunately, a year later is even more Las Vegas. And then there have been so many and like all the schools. And so it's just worse and worse and worse. So the song continues to be, unfortunately, very relevant. But I also sing it in the context of social justice. There's something about LGBTQ and racism and like the environment. That song marked the shift where I went from being very absorbed in my personal drama in looking at the world and starting writing about the world, what is happening. Then it was followed by other songs. Oh God.
Do you find that you are, I won't say inspired because maybe it's the wrong word, but motivated in that same way with things that are happening politically now?
Yes, right now, I think what's happening is it's a very, I'm speechless. You can't see, I can't even speak about it.
My husband and I argue about whether I should be reading these things or not be reading. It feels wrong to not be at least connected and know that these things are happening. Ignoring it feels wrong. We were just talking to another singer-songwriter, and in times like this, it is the artists that help us through. I guess that was my question, is it inspiring more political music in you?
That's such a good question. Yes and no. I am having a hard time finding that balance. I think this is across the board. Everybody I talk to, there is this struggle. How much do I get informed? How much do I block out? A lot of my artist friends are like, I am blocking it out right now. I can't. Some of us are highly sensitive. I am very impressionable. It affects me. I don't watch certain things. I don't watch crime stuff, thrillers. I can't. Psychological. I don't sleep. I'm not able to separate. I need to be empathic to be able to write. I'm not saying that people who love thrillers are not empathic. It's just a different system. I don't know. But Friday night, I participated in an event. It's in Brooklyn. Art for Choice. Art for number 4 choice. And this wonderful young woman who created this organization. And it started in response to the women's reproductive right being completely taken away and the power choice over our bodies. So she created this organization and she does these fundraisers and they're beautiful. It's like all these different artists, comedians, poets, writers, actors, singer-songwriters, performing artists. Friday, I happened to perform at it and it's joyful. Again, art is joyful most times. There is a celebratory element to it. I think it's the same thing about being gay. The word gay. There's so much pain and there's this freedom, be who we are. And so it's joyful. There was laughter. There was cringing and the truth, catcalling, and like this poem that I was like, oh my God, this is so real. It's so terrible. And speaking the truth about the stuff. And when I got up on stage, I started like, we're just going to see more and more of these events. This is how it's going to go. More art. I believe I have more singing students right now than I had before. People are turning to art and creative expression. It's the most immediate, as you said, like artists is like, we're going to turn to art. And it was very clear to me that we're going to see more art. And like throughout history, that's what happened. Moments of like horrible drama, there was more art. And for me right now, it's interesting. Am I writing more politically? When the first abortion ban happened, it was in Texas. And by the way, I'm a big Austin fan. I love Austin very, very much.
Austin is an island in a sea of red.
Darling, yeah. I hear you. Yeah. And it's not that big. So the first ban was in Texas. And I remember I gasped. It was like unconceivable for me that something like I was born not into, I think in Italy, abortion became legal in 78. I was born in 74. But I basically grew up with this right and was never threatened. As conservative as it can be, it's the right wing now and the Pope and the Catholic Church, blah, 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 but it's still not threatened. It's pretty much like solid, I hope.
That's so ironic that
All three of us, our whole lives, this was the way it was.
That's right. You too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you, this is not possible, right? So I wrote a song. It's called Woman is Genius. And woman in the song is more of a concept, woman. That's how it came. And I remember that I was enraged, livid, I heard the song, like the voices of women of millennia, just coming out and say, you crossed the line. This is unacceptable. And so I wrote the song. It's my first angry song, because I never really go there. And then it was followed next year by the federal ban. I haven't been able to perform that song until last summer. That's my internalized misogyny, by the way. I'm not supposed to be angry. I should be, blah, 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 and make men feel uncomfortable, something like that. Just being afraid to be judged and, oh, shit, broke loose for me. Like, wow. So finally, I was able to perform in front of an audience of women in Germany. Basically, we're all women. And then finally, my last show in January in New York. And people were like, oh my God, this song. And I was like, I don't know every single song. Like, oh my, like, blah, 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 blah. So the last song I wrote is about the healing of a relationship between mother and daughter. And in the perspective of the daughter changing her perspective on her mom, needing to change her perspective and seeing that she actually is loved, was always loved and wanted. She never felt wanted. It was just a powerful story. And so, but in the song, there is the idea of not giving up. So I wrote it for this project and I started singing it and playing. I was like, not giving up. This is so pertinent to what's happening. And my idea is to, when I'm going to sing it to an audience, change it to we are not giving up, to really make it into a political statement and song. And I clearly thought that on Friday when we were performing, so like, no, we're not going to turn back. We're not going to go back. We're not giving up. I mean, it's like we're too far ahead. And my idea right now is that the changes that have happened in the last half a century, I mean, we're talking about since the 70s. I mean, this whole started there, 69, 68. And then there was this huge like stop in the 80s and 90s. And then it started again. I believe it started with George Floyd and Me Too. Like everything changed. Shit really hit the fan. It was like the first time where I saw America owning. It was always this like a really crazy thing being here and literally this belief that this is the best country in the world. I was like, why? Is there a best country? No. And this denial, total denial. With murder or George Floyd, when I saw Americans like, oh, now they're telling the truth. There's humility that's coming in. There is racism. It's not the best country in the world. A lot of people. It's like there isn't the best country in the world. You know what I mean? We all have our shit. So there is being this awakening, really the woke idea. Yeah, there is this awakening to the truth. And the awakening is being so great that it's so scary that this is happening in response. We are so scary. That's when I'm realizing today. They are so scared of us and the awakening that woke became this like, oh, like communist. Woke is the new communist. You know what I mean? Like, and we should be persecuted for being woke or something. And so it's so scary and threatening that this is what is coming out. Oh, we're doing a great job. We're doing a great job. We're not going back because like we're doing great. I mean, it's absurd. But that's what I thought. I woke up to it. I was like, oh, wow, because we're so scary. That's what's happening. Ban everything. Try to, like, it's impossible in the United States in this moment.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Oh. I had some similar thoughts like that too. Why are they suppressing women? Why are they suppressing, African American? Why are they suppressing gay community? We're very powerful when we all come together.
The biggest movement.
That's it.
Because they were quickly on their way becoming a minority.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they think we still are.
DEI.
Oh, yeah.
Black Lives Matter. I mean,
do you know that they've been scraping websites?
The thing is that it cannot be erased. I don't believe it can, because these movements, we are too strong, and that's why the reaction is so great.
You did a collaboration with Brad Roberts. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, Brad is one of the best writers I've ever met in my life. I was so lucky. I met him really randomly on Craigslist, believe it or not. That's the whole other story. I was looking for a collaborator. He was teaching songwriting. He didn't disclose it was him, so I just got in touch with him. And then I showed up at his apartment and I didn't recognize him. And remember, as a teenager, I still had this memory. Sitting at our kitchen table, looking at the TV, and there was the Crash Test Dummy music video, my favorite song. That was like, I love that song so much. And here I was in front of this guy who wrote it. I was like, what? Magic. We decided to do a barter, teach him some voice lessons. He's such a humble guy and came teaching me some songwriting, but really he wanted to write with me, hang out. So I had some music. I had the music for Let's Take It Slow, the song we wrote together. Like, listen, I have this music here I like. What? I don't know. He just boof, puffed out these lyrics like no time. It's the fastest, like do 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 do. He actually also helped me with some of the melodies for the chorus. And the song came out. They recorded a demo, and then eventually I recorded the song with, Love Shine. And then we wrote together another couple of songs. I never released them actually. But yeah, it was fun. We'd get together, chat, and write. And then eventually it ended the collaboration and he started touring again. And now he moved back to Canada, I believe.
Which album or song are you most proud of and why?
Well, I'm definitely proud of that song I told you about that I wrote in San Francisco, San Lorenzo. That I think a great composition, I would say. And humbly so, but yeah, it's a good composition. Another Italian song of mine, Vivere Davvero, another great composition, and people love it so much, and I want to absolutely still need to be produced and released, so that's probably one of my next projects. Love Shine, no doubt, it kind of changed my life, in the direction of writing about social issues and my surroundings. Woman is genius. It's just like really honoring women, honoring the genius of being a woman, the power of being a woman. There are many I'm proud of. Another song, Untethered, that I wrote in the middle of my meltdown during COVID. I think that We Are Treasure really summarizes my philosophy. Despite all that we're seeing, we are treasures. I believe it's human. We are treasures. I do believe that. There's a lot of good. We are precious. And so there is this seed of preciousness inside of us. And so I do believe that kind of keeps me alive, Jane.
If you could introduce an American audience to one lesser known Italian artist, who would it be?
Dolce, my friend Dolce. Yeah, Dolche. She's a genius.
If our audience wants to follow and learn more about you, where should they go?
They should go to my website, irenemusic.com, spelled E-R-E-N-E, music.com, and also my Instagram, which is, the handle is Erene Mastrangeli, my name, EreneMastrangeli.
If you didn't catch that, we will have it for you. Now we're going to do a speed round. Joelle, do you want to start with our first question?
What's one goal you're hoping to achieve in the next year?
I want my music to be more filmed. I just wrote my first song for a feature and I loved it so much. I want more of that.
Excellent.
If you weren't a musician, what career would you pursue? And not a traffic cop, right?
You're going to laugh. Real estate.
Really?
Yeah.
I love real estate.
Yeah. Me too. That's interesting. What's the best advice you've ever received as an artist?
Julia Cameron has a ton of beautiful advice. Elizabeth Gilbert, keep showing up at the page. Just do it. Yeah. Or the instrument. For the song to come, I need to be there at the instrument. Otherwise, nothing comes.
When you're not making music, how do you spend your time?
Oh, I love seeing my friends. I adore my friends and dinners, movies, interesting conversations. We talk on top of each other. We get so excited and inspired. And I love my spiritual life, meditating and connecting with spirit.
Great.
Awesome. Every episode, we do a segment called Question Down the Lane, where we ask our guest to provide a question for our next guest. So our last guest has a question for you. And the question is, who was your first celebrity crush?
My first celebrity crush, Clark Gable.
Clark Gable. Wow, that's a
And
good
maybe
one.
Julie Garland.
Oh, yeah.
It could be both.
It could be both.
That's great.
That's great.
Funny. Ooh.
Thank you so much for spending the hour with us. It was really fun getting to know you, and I can't wait until you make it to Austin.
Thank you, Erene, for coming on and spending time with us today. We really appreciate getting to know you.
Thank you. This was so fun.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share Podcetera. And be sure to follow and like the series wherever you enjoy podcasts.
For Podcetera, I'm Renee Lego.
And I'm Joelle Ludovich. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.